Hello, welcome back to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm your host, Logan Stupp, and with me today is Sneezy himself, Jordan Wiegand.
Achoo!
Jordan was sneezing his way into the intro as we were getting started. Allergies, of course, not COVID. So, but it's oh man, this is the what is this, like the third week, fourth week? I guess it's been a month, so fourth week. Is if my math is correct.
Started on the 7th, yeah. So we're about a month in.
We're a month in. I should know that because I put that as part of some of the show notes. But yeah, we're 4 weeks in. It is May 5th. Revenge of the 5th. Happy Star Wars to everybody that celebrates the Galactic Empire. Happy 5th, Jordan. Cinco de Mayo for any of the Mexican listeners that are celebrating. I had an interesting conversation with I had a Mexican student in class. It made me feel really awkward. I said, "Happy Cinco de Mayo," and he goes, "Don't ever say that again." I was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Like, is that like?" And he goes, "No, I'm just messing with you."
Logan's fired.
I was like, "They're so mean to me. You can't do that." But yeah, we're gonna celebrate today. We're gonna see who's wearing the sombrero. I think the Reds are wearing a big sombrero lately. We'll talk about them. But Jordan, how you doing? Everything good besides the sneeze attack?
Yeah, pollen is in the air.
Is that normal this time of year?
Baseballs are not in the air. They're dead right now. But yes, it is normal this time of year.
Because we get it in like February, end of February, beginning of March.
Oh no, these last 2 or 3 weeks have been brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we get it all over our car. We get pine and oak all over the place here in Florida. I don't know. I guess I've never been up north in the spring, so I don't really know how my allergies would react to the ones in the spring.
Our cars are like covered in.
Yeah, no, it's like paints the cars yellow here. So
yeah,
it's brutal.
It's gross, isn't it?
Yeah.
When my sister lived in South Carolina. Your home state, home of the Logs. We had that was like the worst pylon I had ever seen. When we went down to visit them, their car in like the area that they were in South Carolina, which was in like Sumter, absolutely covered in greenish yellow. You know, that pollen color. So that's been always kind of sticking in my mind. My brother-in-law had never had allergies before that, and then developed severe allergies there where he like got hives from just like, you know, his skin would get all itchy just from the pollen in the air. It was insane.
It's the worst. If you're out west, you're lucky because I don't think they experience quite as much as we do. There's a lot of dry out there, so. But if you're listening to us from the South or the Midwest or even the Northeast, it can be brutal. But speaking of brutal, Jordan, let's go over the standings for some teams.
I thought you were going to say about the Reds.
Yeah, we'll jump into that a little bit later. But Jordan, let's go through the standings real quick, just as we always do to kind of open up the show. We'll kind of talk about some teams here and there. We'll cover some news, some interesting stuff that's happening, the continued angst between players and umpires. This week it continues on. The struggle, the fight is real. But let's go through the standings. AL East, the New York Yankees lead the top, 18-7. Toronto Blue Jays at 16-10. Tampa Bay Rays at 15-10. The Boston Red Sox at 10-16, and your Baltimore Orioles at 9-16. Almost double digits, Jordan. We're getting there. Minnesota Twins lead the AL Central 15-10. 15-10. The Cleveland Guardians, 11-13, tied with the Chicago White Sox in that second spot, 11-13 again. And the Detroit Tigers and Kansas City Royals both have 8 wins and 15 losses. Not a lot of parity there. In the AL West, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, because I like to call them that still, 17 wins and 10 losses. The Houston Astros, 14 wins and 11 losses. One of those wins being Dusty Baker's 2000. We'll get into that a little bit. Seattle Mariners, 12-13. The Texas Rangers at 10-14. And the Oakland A's at 10-15. Jordan, that division really kind of took a turn since we last talked. In the NL East, 18-9, the New York Mets, New York on top of the world, Miami Marlins at 12-12. The Atlanta Braves at 12-15. The Philadelphia Phillies 11-14. The Washington Nationals, Jordan, something's wrong in that area of the country. They're at 9-18 as well. The NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers at 18-8. They are on fire as of late. We'll talk about the Brewers some, I guess, here in a little bit. St. Louis Cardinals 14-10. Pittsburgh Pirates 10-14. My lowly Chicago Cubs 9 wins and 15 losses. The Cincinnati Reds, I don't even think they're playing baseball this year, folks. It's 3-22 for the Reds. And then you've got the Los Angeles Dodgers on top of the West, 16-7. Padres at 16-9 in second place. Rockies 15-10. Giants 14-10. And the Arizona Diamondbacks at 13-13. Jordan, stuff that sticks out to you. I mean, we're a month in. We're starting to get into these teams finally having roster pretty much set. Pretty much going into this year, and this is when the grueling summers begin, I guess. It's kind of weird because it's only the second season or second month of the season, but once we hit June, it gets ugly. Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Reds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Logan, they haven't won a game since the 24th of April.
Is that not good?
Before that, they had not won against April 10th. Okay. So in their last, so at one point, this is how bad it was. At one point, they were 2-2. Okay, to start off the season. That plummeted. That 2-2 record then went 2-3, 2-4, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, 2-9, 2-11, 2-12, 2-13. Then 3-13, and then now sit at 3-21. So that's something that's kind of jumped out to me, of course. Now today they played actually already. They don't have that on the. They lost today too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're 3-22 actually. Sorry, that's a winning percentage of 1-0. A losing streak of 9. And a run differential, Logan, of -87. They've scored 79 runs. They've given up 166. That's 60 more runs than the Orioles have given up, who a lot of people thought were going to be the worst team in baseball.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you
I do have one more thing to talk about after the Reds, but if you have something to add to the Reds, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Reds, right, and you look at previous years, stuff like if you go back to 2021, when people were saying that the Baltimore Orioles were tanking, the Orioles sat at 52 and 110. Jordan, I think the Reds are on pace for let's see, if you do the math, we got May, June, July, August, September. That's 5. They're on pace for 15 wins. I've never seen anything like this. And
to be fair,
ahead.
this is a bad start. The Orioles lost 19 or 18 in a row last year. That was broken up by me going to see them play against Shohei Ohtani. All right, I'm the reason we broke that streak last year. But yeah, that's if they get that bad, because that set a record last year for the Orioles and for Major League Baseball as a whole, then you're looking at dark times. I think where this is more of an indictment than the Orioles, right, or any other team, right, is that this was a team that had just made the playoffs a couple years ago, a team that just missed out on the playoffs. Logan, they were just under 500. And then they decide, we're going to cut and just throw it all away. And Oakland did the same thing. But the Reds really have done nothing, only winning the 3 games. I feel sorry for Votto. I feel sorry for Hunter, Hunter Green. That's his name, right? Did I say that right? Okay.
Hunter Green, yeah.
I thought I had his name right, but just wanted to make sure. 12 today. But, he's calling up your top product when you're actively tanking, it seems. I don't get it. because you're not putting him with a good team. You can talk about service time manipulation all you want, right? But the Orioles were holding on to Adley Rutschman and all these other players to call them up at a time where they're ready to actually start winning, start turning the corner. This kid's going to be having this loser mentality with this team. And that can affect players. I'm not saying it will. I'm like, if you're that, I mean, this is why Orioles move on from Brandon Hyde at a certain point too, even if he deserves a team that's actually trying and has better players. You need that manager change sometimes to show, hey, we're being serious now. We're turning that corner. This guy that had that awful stretch is not going to be the leader anymore because, you know, he's probably got a mentality of, oh my God, I just wish this was over. And I hope that Hunter Green doesn't go through that. I'm glad he's able to play. I'm glad he's able to not be service time manipulated. But if you're a Cincinnati fan, which at this point, don't know how many there are, right? I don't mean that in a snide way. I mean that in the ownership is driving them away.
Yeah.
The Bengals are going to be good again. FC Cincinnati is a whole nother mess, right? But they've won more games than the Reds, and they play less games, right? So it's kind of worrying in that aspect of, will this put Hunter Green on the right mindset? Is he going to be able to shake this stuff off? When are they going to actually start spending money again? This was a team that, if you take that team that just finished under 500 and add Hunter Green and add some more prospects and keep together, you have a chance of running for a wild card. I don't get why you decide to, especially they have Jonathan India, who was rookie of the year last year. Like, they can put together a young core and supplement it with the guys they already had, but they decided not to. And that's put them in kind of a really rough spot, I think. Moving on from the Reds, I do want to just point out what stood out to me is the talked about it last week, but Logan, every team is 500 or above. Arizona has come back from whatever record they had for a while. They've won 3 in a row. They're 7-13 and they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. 6-10 or something, and they've gone on to become 13-13. San Francisco has fallen down to 14-10. Rockies are still holding on strong, 15-10 with Chris Bryant now. And then you have San Diego and the Dodgers. This really is like, I feel sorry for Arizona fans. I whoever listened, I said that they would probably be the worst team in baseball this year. I'm sorry. I didn't see the Reds being that bad. But take a bow. 500 record right now, this far in the year. It's a month in. This division is the best division right now.
Yeah, without a doubt.
East. It's the opposite of the NL East right now.
Yes, it is, and it seems to always be this way with at least the Dodgers and the Giants, especially over the last decade or so. It seems like those two teams have always been competitive. But now you mix in the Colorado Rockies, who have played well, and every once in a while they play well, and they kind of surprise people. They play in a park that's very hard to play them again. Play against them in, and then you've got San Diego. San Diego that have really been on the up and up as the years have gone on. They've kind of built a nice core and around groups or guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. It's the best division of baseball right now. I think every team above 500, every team playing pretty well. Like you said, the Diamondbacks have kind of turned that corner. Madison Bumgarner's been pretty good. And we'll kind of get into some of that a little bit later. But like you said, you're always going to get a really good team in the Dodgers. I feel like every year now, you can pretty much rely on them being a very competitive baseball team. But you look at the Rockies lead the league in the OPS category at 755. That's a high mark for a team that I don't think many people thought at all. We were all scratching our heads when Chris Bryant heads to Colorado. Now he's out. They're playing without him. And the teams continued to play pretty well. You got CJ Cron, who's hitting 304 with an OPS of 1.035. I mean, that's fantastic. Charlie Blackmon's playing pretty well. Hitting the ball pretty well. Randall Grichuk has been good in the time that he spent with the Rockies, so that's been a plus. They just get good at bats, the Rockies do, and they were impossible to deal with when the Cubs went and visited them early in the season. I mean, they're deep. They've got 3 or 4 guys on the bench that I think are really good too. I mean, they're a deep squad. They're a good young squad. They got some guys kind of sitting in the mid-20s as well that kind of play to their strength, and then as far as the position players are concerned, so they look good. The Giants are always going to get good pitching. It's a matter of just getting their hitting sustains. But yeah, no, I'm impressed with them. We've talked a lot about the Dodgers. We talked a lot about, I guess, just LA in general. You got on the other flip side, something that sticks out to me: the Angels again continue their success. A team that none of us, I think you and I thought that their lineup has the potential to be one of the most potent lineups in the whole league. But we didn't know, Jordan, that their pitching would be as good as it has been this year too, because I think that's been a thing that they've really struggled with. They put good pitching out there. They got some of the best talent in the league. I mean, it's hard not to say that they don't have one of the more talented lineups in this, especially the American League.
Yeah, and can we talk about this? Is another thing that stood out to me. Sorry, as a AL East snob, I guess. Boston. They have one more win than the Orioles right now.
Mm-hmm.
Orioles only 1 game back of the Red Sox, who actually, hold on, that's not half a game, because Boston played earlier today, and they ended up losing to the Angels 8-0. Shohei Ohtani gets a victory on the road. And the Angels came back last night, Logan, the Red Sox. Red Sox had a 2-0 lead. Angels came back to tie it in the 5th. Boston takes the lead again to make it 3-2. Top of the 7th is 3-3. Then you go into the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th, and it is 4-3. All the Red Sox have to do is go into that 9th, not give up a run. Angels 9th. They're going to score 6 in the 10th, and the Red Sox are only going to get 1 in the 10th, and that's going to into 5 Angels. I mean, we kind of talked about how the pitching for the Red Sox wasn't impressive, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of been their weak spot right now, of course. Looking at the ERA of some of their pitchers, the starter went fine, 1.25 ERA, Whitlock. But then you go into like Diekman, who had the blown save, 4 ERA. Barnes, who got the loss, 8.64 ERA. Sawamura, who overthrew the third baseman against the Orioles that led to a walk-off win. He gives up 2 runs and has a 4.15 ERA. Like, the Red Sox hitting is not doing it either. I mean, these averages, Kike Hernandez batting 189. Trevor Story's only batting 221. You got Bogarts, who's carrying the team, 359 average. But like Dalbec, 141. Jackie Bradley Jr., 181. Arroyo in right field, 205. Vasquez, the catcher. None of these people are really hitting except for Bogarts and JD Martinez in the 300s, and just not good enough for them. And I had them 3rd in the East, and I feel like a fool because I had the Yankees missing a playoff spot, and now the Yankees are like one of the best teams in the American League after kind of a slowest start. But I don't know, any thoughts on the Red Sox?
I mean, I think it's going to get to an interesting point, right? You and I talked about the fact that when they did, and everybody's talked about this, when Trevor Story signs for $6 million, 140 million, 6 years, 140 million. When you've got a log jam in behind Xander Bogaerts, like it at some point, right, they're going to have to decide, one, if this team is going to be competitive enough. Two, are they going to be able to lock down Xander Bogaerts? It sounds like they've got little to no chance to kind of lock him down and keep Trevor Story around as well. So you kind of have that kind of weird conundrum in the middle infield. I'll call it the midfield. That too. But you really do. I'm talking too much soccer lately. Trevor Story. I mean, if you look at it, you sign a guy, you bring him over, you expect him to play extremely well, and maybe maybe Trevor Story, Jordan. I hate to say this, but maybe those stats aren't quite as good as they are going to be in Fenway, because
it's almost like he was playing in Colorado for his whole time.
Like, don't get me wrong, Trevor Story, I think, is a talented baseball player. But when you look at it, I mean, he's only got a 307 on base percentage, which isn't great. Like, it's good, but it should be better for a player that signs that big of a contract. And he's just not lived or fit up to the bill. And I don't know if it's some to do with the fact that he's not playing a comfortable position. In fact, I think, there was rumors going around that he was totally against going anywhere that he had to play second base because
that was what it
shortstop.
Yes, that was the thing. But I think well, I'm not sure if it was really rumors. That's kind of, I guess it's rumors if he didn't say it, right?
Right.
Those were the reports when he was originally looking at the destinations. The issue is him and Correa were sitting around for so long.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of people that wanted to take Trevor Story for shortstop for the money that he wanted. So this is where I almost feel like they've kind of talked about Bogaerts leaving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because he probably wants to be a shortstop, right? And Trevor Story probably took this deal knowing that they're not going to pay for Bogaerts,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to end up being able to just shift over to short, and then they fill in somebody else for second. So he thinks, hey, I'll go to this stacked team and play second, and maybe I can get a ring or make a run, and then I can play short those other 5 years of this 6-year deal. And I don't think it's going to work out that way. I mean, it might work out that way, but I don't think it's going to be a successful year for them this year. And I mean, I don't know. How do you even, they had made a run to what was it? It was the ALCS, right?
Yeah.
Can't even, I don't know. They can't even beat like the Orioles. They can't even. Now, of course, part of this too is that the Angels have been really good this year. Like, talk about, I think they finally have a competitive team that who knows if they'll flame out, right? But this feels like the first year it actually is a Joe Madden team. But it's kind of like, I feel like this was a good test for the Angels because you're on the road in Boston, came from behind, but I think it also is kind of an indictment on the Red Sox that they lose to the Orioles in a series. Then they go ahead and blow this lead against the Angels. They lose today awfully, 8-0 at home. Like, there's something wrong here. How do you even rebuild this team when you hit the offseason if you're not going to pay for Bogaerts, if you're not going to pay for some of these players? Right? They didn't want to pay for Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
I don't get, right?
It's their ownership, I think. I mean, if you look across the sports that they own, I mean, you and I talked the Premier, and they own Liverpool. It's the same thing. It's that mentality of like, and it worked when Jed and Theo were there because I think they're good at what they do. I'm not sure they've got that in place anymore. I'm not sure they're finding those diamonds in the rough. Like that is not what Boston does, and nor do I think they should ever be that way. I mean, Boston should be a big time market in sports. Like, I know the Celtics, they'll spend money out the years to try to make a competitive team. The New England Patriots for a while there were throwing cash at people. So it was, it's a wonder why Boston doesn't do that. And you're right, Jordan. I think, it's got to be concerning. I mean, Xander Bogaerts is having one of his best years, a kind of year you really want heading into free agency, like 350 something. I mean, hitting the ball insanely well, and you're going to go and say, all right, well, we're happy with Trevor. He can walk. Because there's no way that they would let him just continue this year. Like, the further it gets into this year, the more likely it is that he's going to play somewhere else. And who knows where he might end up, where you might not like where he ends up. Like, especially if he, ends up in the division somewhere. So it's interesting to me just to kind of see, hey, you know what, Jordan? The Orioles, hey, throw some money at him. You were going to throw it at Carlos. Throw it at Xander. Do it.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure if they were going to throw it to Carlos. They did ask this to Carlos Correa, by the way, since they're playing each other right now.
Yeah.
And Correa said that they had talks, but there was never an actual offer, which I think makes
Makes
a
sense.
whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to clarify Bogaerts, he has a 6-year, $120 million deal, but he can opt out after 2022. With them signing Trevor Story, there's no way. And look, him and Correa are probably going to opt out because Trey Turner, I think, too. So we might have another year of really great shortstops hitting the market. Right? Trey Turner's contract runs up, right?
Yes. Yes, because they said that was one that they don't think the Dodgers can lock up, so this might be his last.
Yeah, so that's why it's partly, World Series and bust, right, for the Dodgers, is because this is probably the best core you're going to have to do that. But yes, he is going to hit free agency in 2023, so that's after this season. That Trey Turner, who's only years old, man, he's going to hit free agency. That's who I really want. Like, I'll take Bogaerts. But I mean, where else do they go? The Yankees are really high on Anthony Volpe, right? So where else are they going to go?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's only a couple teams that we throw out there. The Astros have their now stud shortstop again, in Pena, so he's not going there. I mean, maybe the Angels have money to play with, but do you really put him there with Fletcher? I mean, I don't know. Like, you could have a stout lead. I think Chicago, the Cubs, like they're pretty sold now on Nico Horner for the time being. But Nico can play second base, magical.
Yeah,
I
I was gonna say if the Cubs have the money, you definitely go after one of these guys.
Yes,
like Nico Horner is not a reason to be like,
and he can play the outfield. Yeah,
we can't do it.
Right.
And you would think probably if Correa opts out, somebody goes to the Twins, right?
Yeah, like I could see
somebody has to fill in that hole. I mean, right now they're 5 games above 500. They're top of their Central Division. The only team above 500, the top of that, in that division, which is again the fact Chicago fell off so hard. I don't know. I'm sure you're loving that, but
yeah, I could curse it, but then I'd also be cursing the Cubs. But you're right. I mean, there's only a couple big clubs that you really think about when they're signing players up. I mean, and I'm looking, and most of these people have shortstops, right? I mean,
I guess the Dodgers would have to get one of them too if it's Turner, right? So,
but that's only one off the market. You got 2 left, and I don't think the Twins can afford. I don't think if Carlos Correa plays with say that the Dodgers go after Xander Bogaerts, like I don't
see that.
I could totally see that playing with Mookie again. That locks him up. But then you got Trey Turner, who's going to warrant a lot of money. And then you also got Carlos Correa. I don't see Carlos Correa if they don't have success in Minnesota. Why would he ever, he's got the contract. He ain't going back. I don't think they would throw, maybe a Trey Turner, but then I'm looking at down the line. I mean, the White Sox have somebody. Tampa's not going to sign anybody. The Mets, who's the Mets shortstop? Why am I blanking on who the Mets shortstop is? Francisco Lindor. Duh. That ain't going
locked
anywhere.
Up for a while.
Yeah, that ain't going anywhere. So the Yankees, like you said, Volpe, I think that's solid. Do the Blue Jays need a shortstop? I don't think they do. No, because they've got Bo Bichette. Right? Yeah, Bo Bichette.
Book of Bo Bichette.
Let's see who else is on the list. Phillies. They like to throw money at people. And the Phillies shortstop currently is Didi Gregorius. So there we go. There we go. Trey Turner sounds like a great fit. So then that leaves Carlos Correa for the Chicago
Nats,
Cubs.
wouldn't it? Losing Bryce and Trey Turner.
And then Juan Soto's like, let me go play in that mess of an outfield. That'd be fun.
Oh, boy. That'd be brutal for the Nats. Because he had to play them every time. That's the worst thing about losing somebody into division, right? Is that see them 19. Well, you know what? Next year, it's more even, so you won't have to see them as much. But still, they're going to be the ones that you're judging yourself on in the standings.
Maybe Trey Turner goes back to Washington. That'd be kind of stupid, but
no way.
Who knows?
No, they're in talks of a sale.
I
don't think they can afford it, honestly.
I don't see the Cardinals throwing a lot. Cardinals just don't usually do that. That's not their game. So I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals. Like that'd be an interesting, for Correa or Trey Turner because they got DeYoung there, and he's not by trade a shortstop that's gonna, sparkle. Yeah, there's really not a lot of spots.
We're talking about all this now because we got until the end of the year.
It's fine.
But
it's fine. It's fun. This is fun. This is where it gets fun. But you're right. Nobody else needs shortstops because there was such a heavy shortstop market. They all went and got theirs this year. So where else do you turn? Well, the Cubs were looking for one, and they thought they were going to lock one of them up. So I think that's a team that you're looking at. Maybe if the Brewers, Cardinals are interested, but other than that, everybody else got their shortstop.
Do the Royals go get one to lock it down with Bobby Witt at third?
Maybe.
I mean,
that's interesting.
They need a move up if they want to do anything with that.
And they have a lot of cash. They'll have tons of cash. So maybe that's that's a good shot. I like that one. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to win right away.
Side of the just lock down. It's kind of like when the Orioles had Manny with JJ Hardy. That was locked down. Wasn't going to be a problem on that side of the field at all if you hit it over there. So I could see why you would want to get somebody with that. I mean, because the Royals are going to have to make some moves eventually, right? I mean, they can't be the reason you promote your prospects is to eventually make a run, right? So they made some interesting moves this offseason that I thought was, maybe setting up for the future. But yeah, who knows? Maybe the Rangers will buy another shortstop and they'll have three of them and figure out what they're doing.
That'd be awful. Oh, good Lord. All right. Let's talk about, let's see. What are we going to talk
baseball?
about next? Yeah, let's talk about the baseball. Let's do it. We kind of alluded to it last week, show. But now that we've got a full month, we can really speak to what's exactly happening. And plus, the more data you get, the better. And more accurate, I think, that you can kind of get in and hone in on some of these things. But Jordan, MLB teams averaged 4 runs per game in April, which is the lowest average in a month since 1981, and 0.26 runs per team per game fewer than a season ago. In fact, the league-wide batting average right now is 231, which is the lowest through April in MLB history, and the 675 OPS was the lowest since 1968. Just 36% of the runs in April have come via home runs, the lowest total in April since 2015. Balls just aren't the same. There was a nice little graphic on ESPN. We have it in the show notes that it says balls hit with 100 miles per hour, exit velocity, and 20 to 35 degree launch angle. It's got the numbers from 2015 through 2021. Home runs, 59%. What is that? I guess the fly ball distance. 399. That's how they're kind of putting that. 0.6. And then you've got batting average at 790. And then you've got slugging at 2.783. And then 2022, just as comparison, 47 compared to 59, 394 compared to 399. You've got batting average almost 100 points lower at 706. You've got slugging percentage way down at 2.384 compared to 2.783. It's just, I mean, it's shocking, I guess, but not. We expected them to kind of try to deaden the ball a little bit because there was just, I think it was just no fun watching teams just absolutely smash in starting pitching. So they kind of changed it, but then starting pitching had dominated years prior, so it was kind of boring. I mean, where do you go from here? Jordan, what are your thoughts on this? Is this concerning for the league? Is this why maybe people aren't as interested in this sport because they keep tinkering?
I don't know. I mean, that last question, the thing when people say people love home runs, right?
Yeah.
And they do. But I don't know. I guess because I'm not a casual fan, I don't understand if somebody just flips it on and says, I haven't seen one home run yet. I'm changing the channel.
Yeah.
Like you either like baseball or you don't, I feel like. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's more things that are fun than just home runs, right? Like triples and doubles. But the issue is you need balls in play. I think they said somewhere that more balls have been in play. And I'm assuming that is because of the dead ball. They're not going out of the thing, so they're just popping up at the warning track, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, stop messing with the ball. I think I talked about this last week. You need a period where you stop messing with it and stop being reactionary. Make your changes and live with the changes for a couple years. Then work off of the stats. They are constantly adjusting, Logan, on small sample sizes. And what I mean by that is half a season, right? Last year they talked about how they had used 2 balls. That's probably about halfway through the season. Once they started cracking down on spider tack, not only did they crack down on that, they also said, here's a new ball, and didn't announce it, came out and said it afterwards. But my issue with that is, while it's a long sample size over the course of a season, half a season, if you're making changes to the game to make it more exciting, to make it more this and that, stop being reactionary, react after the season, make your change, live with it for 2 years, 3 years, and then see if you need to tweak it again. What they're doing is they're panicking when the ball is not in play and say, let's juice it up. Then when the pitchers are getting torched, they say, oh, let's turn it back down a bit. You know what this reminds me of, Logan? It reminds me of that Rob Manfred is cooking dinner on a skillet. Okay? He's on the stovetop. He's turned it all the way up to 9 on the stovetop. And he starts meat. And he's like, whoa. And he puts all the way back to 1. And then he's like, oh, nothing's happening now. Then he moves it all the way back up to 9. And then all the way back down to 1. He's not thinking about, let's put it on 5 and just have a good time. Like, ban the spider tack, juice the ball, right? A little bit. Just a little bit. Or you know what? I mean, stop using the humiditators. They didn't have humiditators in 1887 when they're out there throwing the ball. We don't need pristine balls every single time. This is something that drives my dad nuts. And I want to know if you talk about this with your parents or with anybody else that loves the game. They throw the ball up, it accidentally hit the dirt. That ball's gone. Never to be seen again. They toss it aside and they ask the ump for a new ball. Come on.
Yeah.
We don't need
it. Yeah.
a pristine, brand new white ball every time we throw a different pitch. Like, just because it hit the ground a bit. I mean, it takes a lot to dirty these things up. It shouldn't be like, that ball's dead to me now, is what it's kind of like. Right. It's like Toy Story when Andy looks at Woody and says, I don't want to play with you anymore, and just drops him. That's what it's like when they do those, like, nope, I need a new one.
Yeah, I mean, we going back to it. I mean, I remember playing baseball in high school. Like, you hated when the new white one came out because it just doesn't. It felt weird. It felt like, I don't know. It felt like it wasn't in the game. Like, you're
not broken in.
Yeah, you just bring this thing out. It's like hard as a rock. The seams are raised even higher because it's the new ball. The grip is not as good because it's not as dirty. It's real slick. I know it sounds weird, but a baseball can be really slick at times. When you don't have a lot of it beaten into the ground. That's why when you get before games, I don't know if anybody ever watches, you'll see people rub up the baseball, especially in climates where we like in high school and college, you don't have humiditators, like you don't have that ability to kind of put them in like this heated box to try to kind of make the ball soft. And they said that multiple times. They said sometimes it even feels like you can even make a dent into the ball if you just squeeze it hard enough. And that's just like that. I mean, you're tampering with the ball. You're making the game boring. I think there's times where, it's kind of interesting to have, a tight, close low scoring game, but at times you need some breakouts. But there's just not been a lot of that, and the home runs are down, and obviously that's going to be a big draw. People like home runs. I know when I used to go to a game as a kid, I used to love seeing at least just one. It didn't matter whose team it was from, really. I think it was just exciting to kind of see somebody yank one, launch it out into the bleachers. But it does. It kind of has that feeling of like you said, Rob Manfred sitting there going, I don't know what makes people happy. And I just feel like it's the way baseball is going right now. Like, I feel like it's a lot of these rules. People are just like, and you got to see. I wanted to ask you about a particular rule that they've changed, but I'll let you kind of comment on that.
Well, what I was going to say is, why probably Manfred's confused is because I'm confused too, Logan. We celebrate no hitters and perfect games, but we also want to see and balls in play. So it is kind of hypocritical, right? We love when there's no offense, but also we love when there's offense.
Yeah.
But also we don't like when there's too many no hitters, right? Last year I had 8 or 9, and we're like, wait a minute, we're realizing something was up with the ball, right?
Right.
Is when the Orioles even throw a no hitter.
Yeah,
people are like, wait, what?
Yeah, now we got to re-examine everything.
But every team was starting to throw them. That people were like, oh, whoa. Like, it was cool, right? I think Musgrove was the first one last year.
Yeah.
And then thinking, like, we had 8, I think, before August, because they were 7 or 8 of them when I went to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one that night when I'm in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I leave the Hall of Fame. I go to our hotel room, and I'm watching the rest of this no-hitter on my screen as I'm at the Hall of Fame, thinking, oh my God, another ball is being added to that exhibit.
Right.
And that's a problem. And again, just messing around with the ball too much.
Mm-hmm. Clayton Kershaw almost throws one in his, it's his first outing after a couple of weeks the season had started. He comes back off the IL and almost throws a perfect game. You have Shohei Ohtani getting close to that same mark already into a perfect game. I mean, perfect games are almost like, okay, yeah, like, oh man, he's got a perfect game, just like he always, like we always, oh yeah, he's got a perfect game through 7. It'll break up. Like, nobody should be, like, that's so hard to do. I don't get. And it is. It's confusing because then you also have the other pitchers on the flip side saying, I can't control the damn thing. I'm throwing it all over the place. No idea where it's going. You got guys throwing 150 miles per hour now, like 100 times, and we celebrate that. And then it's like, well, I'd rather you not throw it that hard because that's not fun. Somebody needs to throw soft. Then you got Kyle Hendricks, and he throws like the middle school child, and he gets tattooed, and they're like, well, that's not fun. You need to throw 100. What's wrong with you?
Well, I hate the argument too of just have the batters do better.
Yes,
they should adjust. Yeah. This thing is thrown at 100.
You can't say it.
You talked about it. You talked about Hunter Green throwing 39 pitches?
Yes.
Above 100 miles an hour? Do you know how hard you have to go up there, and then you have to be able to track the pitch, know if you're going to swing, actually make contact, and then on top of that, hope that ball goes somewhere where somebody's not, because everybody is shifted to the way you already hit it anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just say, well, maybe you should try pulling it the other way.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work because we're human. Mm-hmm. People forget these batters are human. They're the best ones that can do what they do. But so when they even 34 averages, there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. Because if these are the best players that we can get and they can't even hit above the Mendoza line or anything, it's because the pitchers are just have such a huge edge. The athletes that we have in all sports right now, I'm talking about all sports. Look at Ronaldo. He's 38 years old and is able to rip off his shirt and everybody's jealous, right? Mm-hmm. That's because LeBron, right? Look at LeBron. I mean, mm-hmm. even at their ages, players are able to go for longer now. They're able to be in shape more, right? And then with the proper conditioning stuff, we know so much stuff about the body now. Pitchers know how to throw. Before, Tommy John used to be a career ender. Now it's a year setback, and they're mm-hmm. back on the mound throwing 100+. It's insane.
Speaking of the tacky stuff, Jordan, I did want to. Did you see this? Did you see the Madison Bumgarner thing?
Yes.
This was insane. So more rule stuff that has changed. Obviously, if you guys haven't been watching or been living under a rock, they do go over now, and the umpire will check people's fingers. I actually saw one, Jordan. I forget who it was, but he was like going over and seductively like rubbing his hand, and like you could see the
That was
pitcher
the
go.
Bumgarner thing.
Was it Bumgarner that
Yes,
time? Yeah.
and he wasn't even looking at the hand.
Right.
He was looking straight at Madison Bumgarner.
Okay. So it was this one, and Bumgarner kind of looks at the camera like, "What's going on? This guy's like being real weird." But what happens, Jordan? He goes over. Bumgarner's getting his hand checked, and he hated the last call that Ryan Willis had called, who's the umpire behind the plate. He goes over. The first base umpire is the one to go over and check to see if the sticky stuff's still. So Dan Bellino goes over. He's checking Madison Bumgarner's fingers for the sticky stuff. And I don't really know. I'm sure you watched the John Boy breakdown, maybe, and he probably knows.
No, he just posted it.
Did he?
While we were recording,
Okay,
so I haven't been able to.
Yeah. But I want to watch it because I haven't seen it yet. But I think essentially what is said, he goes, "I don't like whatever the F he called. He doesn't like it." He says something to the first base umpire, and then it didn't look too vicious. Like it just kind of looked like a conversation you'd normally have, and you'd walk off and forget it. But this umpire takes exception to the fact that he's that he was talking about the home plate umpire. So he throws him from the game. He's like, "Get out. You're done. I'm done with this crap." And Bumgarner, I thought he was going to go punch him. I thought this was going to get into like a physical, like shoving match. I mean, this is Bumgarner's beard's like touching he's touching like the face of the first base umpire. It was getting insane. They had to like restrain him basically from getting to the umpire. But I don't know, what was the umpire doing? Like, was he trying to provoke? That's one thing. If this is going to happen, yeah.
He's staring down
Yes.
Mad Bomb, stroking his hand, right? You're supposed to be looking. You're supposed to be like feeling it, but then looking and being like, "Okay, go." You just staring daggers because you didn't like what he said about your friend over there is bullcrap. I talked about last week how soft pitchers are, right? Oh, maybe I talked about it last week. I don't know. But if so, pitchers are soft, right? Trevor Plouffe always says the same thing if you want to listen to Trevor Plouffe on Talking Baseball. But they get upset if you're not they get upset if you look at them the wrong way. They get upset if you bat flip. They get upset if you hit on a 3-0 count. Yeah. They hate if you do this. They hate if you do that. People softer than pitchers are umps. You don't even have to say that many harsh things to them to be getting tossed. This is the first inning of the game. I mean, literally the game started at like 1 o'clock. 1:14, he is tossed out of the game because of this. And that's bullcrap because the people are there to see Madison Bumgarner pitch. They're not there to see an umpire throw him out. If I'm an ump, you can say whatever you want to me. As long as it's not like I'm going to kill your family. I'd be like, you're fine. I get it. You're frustrated.
Right.
I mean, Logan, we've both played FIFA. We get frustrated at the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
I'm always yelling at the refs. Yeah.
God. But it doesn't mean that we wish them ill will or anything. Just we're, especially if you're a professional athlete, your money is on the line. Your stats are based off of what he calls. And when this year has had some of the worst umping I have ever seen, when you have balls in the other batter's box being called strikes, when you have blatant tags that are being missed on the field that affect if you get a contract extension, that affect if you get your incentives, maybe you have an incentive clause for 300 strikeouts, I would be frustrated too. And I could see myself yelling some stuff. But it doesn't mean that it's personal. And I know that they take a lot of abuse. I'm not saying they don't. There were stories about there's umpire shortages because of the way, like parents treat these people out on like the youth circuit, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, give him a warning in the first inning. If he keeps yapping, 4th, 5th inning, you can toss him. It's the first inning. You just changed this whole team dynamic. They have to get somebody up in the bullpen. They have to get somebody out there to warm up. They have to waste an arm, which is going to set them back the next day because instead of maybe only using one or two bullpen arms today, they now have to use 3 or 4 because of 5 or 6, right? Because of Mad Bum leaving in the first inning. you still got another 8 innings you have to pitch, right?
Mhm.
Or they have to burn their next starter to go in there for 4 innings, and that throws them off for the rest of it. Just throws everything off just because you didn't like that he said some words. It's bullcrap.
Was egregious. Like it just had that feeling of like this is easily, and umpires are known for this more than any other sport. They hate to be shown up, and this wasn't even showing him up. He was like fed up, and then he kind of, and then you can see Mad Bum like wanting to like walk away. Like he's like, okay, I'm done. Like I just want to, okay, and he says one last thing, and then he kind of tries to walk off. That's when the ump's like, no, get out. I love talking. Did you see the one with Angel Hernandez when John Boy breaks down Angel Hernandez and Schwarber? It's cool. If you haven't seen it, those listening, you need to watch it. It's a great breakdown because of what he says, and then he brings up all this information. Because I guess Jordan last year, like Angel Hernandez had complained that it was a racist thing that he wasn't getting selected for World Series games, and he's done all this work. And then basically Manfred, without saying it and coming out actually blatantly saying it, he pretty much says, "You suck at your job," and that's why we just can't get rid of you because of union.
Yeah. Hey, hold on. You want to hear? This is what Manfred was saying. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
This is egregious. This is egregious.
It's another one I have to add to the thing here.
I think the umpire was probably like, I don't know what that means, but you're out. You're gone. I'm done. What are you calling me?
Get out of here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, but it's just brutal. Like, why not go to the card system, man? Go to the yellow card, red card thing. In soccer, when a ref's fed up, they go, all right, that's it, yellow. And once shown yellow, like even a verbal warning doesn't work sometimes. Even showing yellow is like, okay, all right, I know. I can't do that anymore.
This is how it should have been.
Why not?
Verbal, this. If he talks again, yellow. Talks again, second yellow, red. That's how it usually is in soccer. They'll say something first. You
They
see
will.
the ref
They'll call
be
over like, hey,
no more. No more of whatever you're doing there. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Madison Bumgarner. This is egregious.
Yes. All right, Jordan, let's go to really cool news. Dusty Baker. We talked about Dusty last season just because he's a manager that's never won a World Series. But, Jordan, you know what he did win? He won his 2000 game as a manager. First African-American to do so. And no one else in our lifetime, really, this side of Joe Torre, has had such a good playing career and coaching career. And it's only led to Dusty Baker's only one of 12 men to lead teams to 2,000 or more major league victories. Names in this list, I don't even know what that was. What was that? Sorry, somebody like knocked something over or something over next door. Thought somebody's like breaking in ready to podcast or something. But no, it's quite a feat, Jordan. He has a chance to surpass Bruce Bochy, who has 2003 wins. I hope he does, because that'd be disastrous if he doesn't. Leo Durocher and then Walter Alston sitting within reach. But Dusty, man, looking to settle into the top 10 all-time wins as a manager. Pretty cool stuff. Former Cub managers, so I've gotten to see Dusty chew on the toothpick. We had very not so good things to say about Dusty, but Jordan, this is a pretty cool feat for Dusty, first African American to do so. Any thoughts on Dusty and the toothpick?
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I remember at the beginning of the season, when they talked about how close he was to getting this, I'm like, wow, he's going to hit 2,000 this year, pretty easily, especially with the Astros. And the fact that he's past Casey Stengel, who's a legend, is great. Same amount of years managing as Stengel. Totally different ball game at this time. But yeah, I mean, he should, by the end of the season, probably be 9th, right? He's going to pass Alston. That's only 39 more wins. We know the Astros are going to get 30. They're not going to get another 124. So that's probably out for 8th. But it depends on how long he's going to stick around. I do want to point out just how amazing Connie Mack is, by the way. 3,731 wins. I mean, even Tony La Russa's not going to be able to match that. He's 900 shy of that Connie Mack record, who coached for 53 years. And that's what crazy is when you look at this, because I watched the Ken Burns baseball documentary. Obviously, I'm not old to have seen Connie Mack manage, right?
Right.
But 1894 to 1950, that just 1894 feels like a totally different era, right? To 1950, 84, they didn't have cars. 1950, they're going around watching television. Like that. That is like a totally just different, thing. And how he won so many games. He actually lost more games than he won still, Connie Mack. So many games he was around for. 7,000, Logan. 7,755 games managed by Connie Mack. No manager is going to get close to that. But going back on topic to Dusty Baker, he started when I was 2 years old, and he's already had enough games won of 2,000. That makes me feel pretty old as well. But I mean, he's got one of the best win percentages. 534. That's better than Bruce Bochy, who's above him right now. And it's actually better than Bucky Harris, who sits well above him in these wins. So just great, and great for the representation for Dusty Baker to get it as well.
Yeah, Jordan. So over the last, so if you take this all the way back to 2010 when he was with the Reds, here's where he's finished with all of his teams in the division in which they played. So with the Reds, he finished first in 2010, third in 2011, first in 2012, third in 2013, first with the Nationals in 2016, first with the Nationals in 2017, second in 2020 with the Astros, first in 2021 with the Astros. He's currently in second place with the Astros in the AL right now, and the AOS. And I don't see why he doesn't win that division this year. So, I mean, it's incredible. And with the Giants, which a lot of people, my age, your age, don't quite remember because it was quite early in our lives, from 93 to 2002, I mean, he's absolutely just like crushed it with the Giants. It wasn't until later in his career that he was getting to the postseason and winning games. And then 2002, he won 10 postseason games, but has never really got that coveted World Series. I mean, I expect he will at some point, Jordan, but he is getting up there. He's 73 in age. Do you think he gets it with the Astros, coming up in the next couple of years, or do you think he might be one of those guys that just never wins one?
I didn't even realize he was the Cubs manager back then.
They were brutal to end his time, so that's why we don't really like Dusty, because he's been good everywhere else he's been. He was good to start with the Cubs, but it just deteriorated quickly in those 4 years that he's with them.
I don't know if he's going to win one. It is very difficult to win one of these, and I think this shows it, right? 2,000 wins, Logan, but not enough to win a World Series. He got close last year. That was, probably the best time. That in 2002. Those are his only appearances. This Astros team is good. They've kind of turned it around lately, right? You talked about how the West has shook up a lot. Houston was like fourth place. Oakland and Seattle were above them, and now Oakland is actually below Rangers right now, which is mind-blowing. But I don't know how many years he can keep going. 73, I feel like at a certain point at that age, I'd want to step away. But he also has got a really good job. Astros, that are consistently up there. And maybe he's thinking the same thing. Maybe he's thinking, I got a really good job. I really want to win a World Series. And this team is really his best shot since the Giants. Those other teams don't even come close to it. I feel sorry for him because they were so close. 95 wins, 97 wins. 2 years after he leaves there, they win it. It's got a very Buck Showalter vibe. Buck can get them so far, and then usually after he leaves, the team is in the World Series like 2 or 3 years later. But, with it just being so, 73 years old, that is tough. That's a really tough thing, because maybe he's just his son's starting to play now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't he want to go see his son play a few games every season, instead of being in the dugout? But maybe he's just so diehard of a baseball man, he's gonna manage till he dies or something. I have no idea.
You make a good point, though. I mean, it was I think it's Dusty Jr. is his name. The son. I could be wrong, but he was also the bat boy for the Giants. I think he was around when Bonds was around out in San Francisco, because I remember there was a picture of Barry with Dusty's son, and he's holding him up because he almost got in the way of a play, and he picks Dusty's kid up and he runs him out of the way because he almost gets trampled.
Darren Baker.
Darren Baker, that's what it is. But I know he was a very good family man. He oftentimes would bring his kids into the clubhouse. I remember there were stupid articles written about how it was distracting how much time his kids spent in the clubhouse. I don't think that's ever really a thing. I think it actually shows that the guy's human. I think that's why a lot of the players love him. I've not ever heard really anybody say anything bad about the guy. Everybody that's ever met him said he's sweet, Dusty. He just sits in there like you normally would. The people always kind of compared him to when he was in Chicago, kind of that, that old grandpa or uncle that sits on the front porch in the rocking chair and he just rocking back and forth telling you good stories about life. It seems like that's always been kind of his thing. I like Dusty. I didn't like him so much at the end, but
he brings respectability back to this franchise after the cheating scandal.
Yes.
That's
a good point.
I didn't like the Astros after that, but guess what? Dusty Baker, I love him.
Yeah.
I can't hate him. I can still hate the players, but you want to see him succeed, and you're kind of like, but he's on the Astros. I don't want him to win one, but I do,
Yeah.
And it's it's something like that. It's kind of rough in that sense.
Another barrier broken down, Jordan. I didn't put this one in the show notes, but this was cool. I don't know if you saw this, but Staten Island Ferry Hawks two-way player Kelsey Whitmore becomes the first woman to pitch in the Atlantic League. Jordan, trailing 3-1, manager Eduardo, I guess that's how you said, Alfonso gave Whitmore the ball for the first time in Staten Island's 11th game. She came in to face a hitter, threw a ball, and then got 2 called strikes before Jackson flied out to right. She also went over to and was hit by a pitch on Sunday, and then became the first woman to start an Atlantic League game. So that's an awesome thing. It's kind of exciting because who was the girl? Was it who was the girl that the pitcher in Little League? Was it Mo something?
Monet Davis, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's what it was. But man, this is really cool, and it kind of opens the door, doesn't it, for other women? I know there's a lot of females that are in managerial spots. I know the Yankees have one in their minor league systems and ranks that they highly respect. I know there's a lot of hitting coaches in the minor league ranks that are currently women. Some that have played softball, some that have played baseball in different parts of the country. So I don't know. I love this. I think it's cool. I kind of want to see if she's ever coming around to play any of the teams around here, like if she's going to go to Tampa Bay or something like that to play one of the minor league teams, because I think it'd be kind of cool to see this. But definitely opens up the door. I think it's inspiring for young women across the board, or people that just don't think they can break down barriers. You absolutely can. And I'm glad that baseball's done this, and I'm rooting for her. I hope to see her. It'd be cool to see her up in the majors at some point. I don't know how that all works out, but it'd be kind of fun to follow her career. I just thought that was interesting. Played softball at Cal State Fullerton, so they recruited her, drafted her. I mean, it's a big moment for her. So pretty cool stuff. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is pretty cool. I really it makes you question, where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, will we a barrier come to actual Major League Baseball? I think eventually, yeah. I think it's a little tough right now because I think whoever does it would have to have been in baseball their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is not playing softball, because I feel like
it's a different game.
it's a different game, different ball size, and and what I mean by that is, that there's a reason why they practice sometimes with golf balls. Like I remember my dad used to throw like little golf ball size things at me, because if I could see that, when I saw a baseball, it'd be huge.
Yes.
The baseball would be huge. So you're going the opposite way. You're going huge ball to smaller. But also, I just feel like with the speed of pitching, I don't know how fast they throw in softball. I think it's usually like 60, 70 miles an hour.
Reaction time's different too because they're closer, but the reaction time's hard. Yeah.
So this person would have to be like, I think, in there, kind of like a Monet Davis, where in the Little League World Series, and then is able to play in the college baseball system, or in high school baseball system, because they have to be able to see those faster pitches to be able to get into the minor leagues, I think, because like you said, it's a different speed. It's a different game that might be a tough adjustment for them if they have not done that before. Yeah. Atlantic League, you usually don't have those pitchers that can throw as fast because they'd usually be in the minor league. It's all, we talked about it over text. It's all about velocity. If you could throw it 100 miles an hour, you're getting a contract somewhere.
Yes.
To prove yourself. But if you can't, you might have to end up going to independent leagues like the Atlantic.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had friends that played in the Atlantic League. I think is that the one? Yeah, because there was one up in Connecticut. I think he was playing with a Rhode Island or one of the two. But no, I mean it's cool because I think, like you said, Jordan, I think the next step is to get women to play baseball in college. Like I think that's the next step. I think that's the step that we're going towards, because I know there's a lot of women that are playing currently, or young girls that are playing in their high school sports. We actually had somebody locally that's played. And I've got a girl that I teach that plays softball. That's one of the top recruits in the nation. I think she could easily handle baseball if she just made that switch over. But she's always played softball, like you said. And it's the base paths are shorter. And to be honest with you, if you took a baseball player, took them out of college and told them to go play professional softball, that is a bear of a thing to do, just because the ball comes in at a different trajectory. I mean, it's closer. It's hard to just kind of figure that what happened. Something happened.
No, I'm reading these Atlantic League things. Hold on. They're adding a team into Hagerstown, Maryland in 2024. Wow. And we also have the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. But what I just held my hands to my head for was that the Aberdeen Arsenal were a team that were in Bel Air, Maryland, that were then replaced by the Aberdeen Ironbirds, who became a a single A short season affiliate of the Orioles. So I just never heard about this 1 year that they played professional baseball as the Aberdeen Arsenal.
That's odd.
But they played at Hartford Community College, so that's pretty cool.
I like that. That's always fun. Those kind of stats. Baseball's so weird. Like, baseball is so different from other sports.
This is going to be more of my trivia stuff that I'm going to have. But I want to say again on the women's stuff too. I wish there was even a women's league of actual baseball, because
that's true. Yeah.
Really, once they graduate, even softball, college, there's nowhere for them to really play.
A lot of them end up analysts. Yeah.
Right. And they usually become analysts. But that stuff really interested my wife when we went through and she actually got a shirt of like the old baseball women's teams with all their names on it and stuff. And that's a gateway for her to be interested, right? Yes. So if there was women teams around here, or a woman who was playing in the league, I could probably convince her to go easier. Of like, hey, this is like, remember that stuff we looked at in the Hall of Fame? It's really cool. This person's breaking ground. So maybe if they come around to Blue Crabs, I'll see if she wants to go down there. Yeah.
A league of their own, as they would say.
Yes, I really need to get her to watch the movie.
It's a great. Ashley watched it. Ashley's watched it a couple times. She loves it. Like, she loves it because she'll quote "There's no crying in baseball." Great line. If you haven't seen the movie, you're doing yourself a disservice. Most baseball fans have, but if you haven't yet and you're just kind of catching on to the league, or maybe you're younger, please go watch it. It is a fantastic movie. Tom Hanks is great in it. It's unbelievable. It's one of my favorite movies as far as baseball is concerned. So, all right, Jordan, anything else before we kind of wrap up? Not too long of a show here, but
Let me just check.
we didn't talk
kinda covered
Shohei.
everything.
Shohei's nice. He's good. Speaking of show, but I think
Today he had an RBI. He went out there and pitched a gem for the Angels. And again, I just really want to stress how amazing it is. We didn't really mention it that much, but the fact that both New York teams and LA teams were at the top of their divisions ever, that's amazing. That's the first time ever. I feel like just with, is there a stipulation with that, or not even the first day of the season we've had this? Like, that seems crazy, that we've never had this before. But again, I just think the Angels have been kind of a nice, gentle surprise for us this year. Seattle's kind of been a little disappointing. I really thought that they were going to start off well. They can still, turn it on. But, I do wonder, though, is Houston, who had struggled before, are they going to sneakily get back up there and win this division again? I'd keep an eye on that. Again, this is where you can't really doubt anything because of Dusty Baker, right?
Yes.
We're kind of going back in circle of how respectable he is, how it's the same thing I say about Buck Showalter with the Mets, right? Like, it is, there's just certain managers that just have it, right? That can get everybody in line and get the results they need. And I think Dusty Baker is one of those that, the Angels, if they, surprisingly at this month that they've been doing well, can they sustain it, right? Because that's something that we've kind of seen in the past too, where they either start off well, Trout gets injured, or somebody gets injured, their pitching goes bad, something like that, that then maybe the Astros are able to reclaim it. It's only 3 games difference right now.
Important month, May. You're getting ready to get into the summer months. You want your teams to really start to kind of fine tune what is their roster heading into these grueling months of summer. The balls should start flying. The offenses should start to kind of tune up and get into better shape. You're going to start to see guys come up out of funks. That first month can be brutal hitting in the cold, and a lot of teams are still hitting in the cold. It's not really until the end of May that you really start to see a spike in a lot of these performances from different players, different teams. But a lot of guys coming back. I mean, you're going to get Fernando Tatis back eventually, which is exciting. You got,
and they've been doing well without him.
Yeah, Verlander's starting to kind of ramp back up after his Tommy John, and he's pitched well. So yeah, it's cool to kind of see. You got some issues with Bryce Harper and Altuve, so some of the more exciting stars in the league, they're going down and with injuries.
Altuve batting like 181.
Right, exactly. Like, so there must not be a lot of trash cans around. But on that note, I guess, Jordan, we'll put this one in the trash. Not really, but we'll put it up. And if you've loved us, or if you liked us just a little, go ahead and rate us on iTunes.
Or if you think we are trash, you can rate us on iTunes as well.
Yes, exactly. You can do that as well. You can give us 1 star. Hopefully you don't, because those ratings are how people find us, Jordan. If you want to be found. I know you probably don't because you're in Camden Yards. You're probably not supposed to be there. So I'll continue to make that joke until it's not funny anymore. It still isn't. Thanks for listening. This has been a lot of fun for the first month. Jordan and I love talking baseball. It's something we both grew up watching and most passionate about. So if you've liked our show, share it with others. Go down and rate us, please, because it does help people find us. We are the Extra Innings Baseball Show. He was Jordan Weekend. He didn't sneeze any more than just the beginning of the show. I'm Logan Stump. It's been fun. Have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next time on the Extra Innings Baseball Show.
The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand, and we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.